I'm Terry Harrison. Today I'll be painting a typical American barn. This barn is found in the high country in North Carolina. I've started with the drawing and the masking fluid is in the foreground with the flowers, grasses. Also I've masked off the cartwheels on the right hand side. The first thing I'm going to do is paint the sky. So we start with a clear water wash. So wet the sky area right the way up to the line on the roof. I'm going to start with some ultramarine, not too strong, and drop in the blue, which is the sky around the clouds. So you're painting the shape of the clouds using the ultramarine. There's a large cloud at the top here, and then just at the back of this tree, and then just bring that down. Wash the brush out. Then use a mixture of ultramarine and burnt umber. This will give me a light grey colour. I'm going to just drop that under the cloud for the shade and just let that bleed wet into wet underneath the cloud. Then we allow that to dry before we paint in the trees on top of it. So while that's drying, we can move down to the foreground and start again with the large brush. A light colour first, some raw sienna. And take that through right the way through the painting. Bring that down into the masked area. Then some burnt sienna. Then we move into a light green. This is sunlit green. It's quite a bright yellowy green. And just drop that down bottom of the meadow. Bring that forward. So moving on to a darker green, this is country olive. And drop that into the wet. Dark underneath the cart. And underneath the tree, where there'll be some shade from the leaves of the tree. Drop some more colour into that raw sienna. And allow that to dry. Once the sky has dried off, we can then paint the trees in the background. I'm going to use the fan stippler and a light colour on one half of the brush. So it's sunlit green with some cobalt blue. And then a darker colour on the other sides, which is midnight green. So the sunlight's coming through from the left through to the right. So the light is on the left hand side and the dark is on the right hand side. And stipple. So there's the shade. There's the lighter colour there. So bring that down. Again, light colour. So bring that down towards the barn and using a piece of paper as a mask, just mask off the barn roof, stipple some darker colour into there. Right, just going to change the colour in the trees in the background, so just stipple a lighter colour. This is some raw sienna. Bring that down to the base there. So that's a lighter colour in there. Then a dark colour next to it. And just along bottom of the wooded area. Then a dark colour towards the end of the barn. And again, using a piece of paper as a mask. And while that's still wet, you can use your fingernail and scrape out some tree trunks. Moving over to the trees on the left hand side, so fairly light, bring that down to the edge of the roof, up a little bit higher, paint over the drawing of the tree. The tree's going to be quite dark, so not worried about masking off the tree. Slightly darker green, still with a touch of blue. Just added a little bit of ultramarine into the country olive. And bring that down to the edge of the barn. Stipple some more texture. And again, with the fingernail, just the hint of some trees at the bottom of the meadow. When the background trees are dry, you can then paint in the tree trunk and branches for the main tree on the left hand side. So I'm going to use some burnt umber, which is a nice dark brown, and some country olive, which is the middle green, and paint in, it's almost like a silhouette of the tree, goes right the way up out to the top of the painting. So using the same colour and a smaller brush, just paint in the twigs and the smaller branches. And we'll add the leaves on later. Moving on to the foreground, I'm going to use the Van Gogh, which is the softer of the two fan brushes. A dark mix, the same as the tree trunk, and with that colour just flick underneath the tree for the shadow. It comes through the masked flowers. So you just flick up using the Van Gogh. Not too wet. If it's too wet, the brush strokes will fill in. And if you do this, you can get some textures. Use the end of the brush and just push the brush firmly onto the paper to give a different texture, maybe some nettles and other types of plants. Flick some more grasses in amongst the masking fluid. Then just allow that to dry. The next step is the barn roof. We're going to start with a nice rusty colour, which is burnt sienna, and drop that onto the roof first with the large detail brush. Fairly light, not too strong. So cover the whole of the roof area. Then with some cadmium red, just make this more of a rust red, drop that into the wet. Then a touch of cobalt blue, just pull that down onto the roof and let that bleed into the first colour. And some cadmium orange, and that can drop into the roof as well. And again, just let that dry off.